Join me in prayer. Lord of all wisdom, we thank you for the gift of your word. And as we think on these things, open our hearts and our minds to hear you. Amen. Please be seated. Happy New Year, friends. Yes, today is the first day of the church calendar year, the first Sunday of Advent. This is a season when we prepare and wait for the coming of the Messiah, God becoming human, living among us, showing us a radical way to live and to love. There's wonderful explanations about the Advent season in your bulletin. I greatly encourage you to take a look at it after the sermon. Feel free to take it home and review it at that time. A significant part of the Advent season has to do with the story of the incarnation, with Christmas. God became human in the person of Jesus Christ, and because of that, humans are able to access God in a whole different way. However, the Advent season is also about a more profound wait, a more profound preparation connected with a concern that many human beings have. What happens at the end? What is all of this? The lives we live, what are they about? What happens at the end? Throughout the centuries, many cultures and societies have thought about what that end of life could be. And they often said it was like a final fulfillment of the story of humanity. The time when the ups and downs of our lives make sense. This is why. Often, this is understood as the end of time as a judgment day, a final showdown between good and evil. In chapter 24 of the Gospel according to Matthew, Jesus and the disciples are hashing out their version of the end time. They're in Jerusalem before Jesus' arrest and crucifixion. The disciples are showing off the temple, not because it was big and beautiful, but because it symbolized their accomplishments as a society and as a people. Almost like they were saying, look how far we've come, Jesus. Look how our nation has thrived despite the occupation for centuries. That's when Jesus responds and challenges their ideas about fulfillment of all things. And he predicts the destruction of the temple. Just a joy at parties, Jesus. He challenges their notion and their excitement over the temple and predicts the destruction of the center of their lives. For the Jewish people of the time, the destruction of the temple was a symbol of the end times. So they wanted to know, okay, when is this going to happen? What does this look like? What does the end look like? And what do we do? So it's fitting that the church begins its year, its church calendar year, not with what we think is the beginning, the birth of Christ, but kind of at the end. What happens in the end of time? What is the fulfillment of all things? Yes, Advent is a time when we reflect on the coming of the light of Christ, but it's also a time when we think about something much larger, the fulfillment of all things. What is this all about? Waiting, watching, hoping. These are the themes of Advent. These are also significant themes in human life. At our darkest hours, we ask about the end of times. What is this all for? When will this end? On a cancer diagnosis, on the death of a loved one, at the loss of a job, the loss of our house, in a global pandemic, or in the middle of senseless shootings and the killings of innocent people. Now, during our greatest joys, we feel that we know the answer. This joy that we feel, that's what this is all about. A wedding day, a graduation day, a promotion, the birth of a child. Why does the church year begin with such a season? I believe it's because in order to receive what the Messiah, called the Son of Man in Matthew, or also the Son of Humanity, what the Messiah brings, we need to be prepared and to be ready to receive. In order to deal with the challenging questions in life, what is this all for? What is the fulfillment of things? We have to be ready. And to be ready, we need to slow down, look around, and think about the future. Not quite what the holidays feel like in preparation for Christmas Day. Waiting, watching, and hoping. These are the things that many of us in this society can't do very well. We want/need immediate satisfaction. Waiting, watching, hoping. That's the kind of thing that we want to put off until we absolutely need to deal with it. I have a confession, friends. I am a recovering procrastinator. I went through 11 years of grade school, then 11 years of higher education, and then 3 more years of seminary, doing things at the last possible moment. 10-page paper on the history of the Patriot Act, 2 days before it was due. Application for a faculty position at Penn State University, 6 hours the night before it was due. 3 paper presentations for the National Social Studies Research Conference, wrote them on the airplane and in the hotel the night before. You don't have to raise your hand, but has anyone else experienced this kind of procrastination? Don't look around, lots of heads are shaking. Putting off cooking and cleaning, putting off the heavy work, task, putting off major life decisions. I'm sharing this with you not because I'm proud of this, but instead because it causes deep embarrassment, guilt, and shame. I don't like that I've waited to the last minute a number of things. One of the first things that Beth said to me when I arrived was that the team here really likes to get things done ahead of time, really, really on time. And I haven't told you this, Beth, but the day I thought to myself, oh my God, Lord have mercy. This is as good a time as any for me to turn my life around. I say I'm a recovering procrastinator because it has been a long journey of confronting the impact of procrastination in my life, confronting the reasons for procrastination in my life. In addition to therapy, one pivotal moment came in 2019. There was an article in the New York Times titled, "Why You Procrastinate." It has nothing to do with self-control. I did not procrastinate reading that article. According to psychologists, procrastination isn't really about a character flaw, that we are just lazy or that we don't want to do the things that we need to do. It's not that we can't manage our time, it's that we can't cope with our emotions, particularly the negative emotions that come from certain tasks. Now, it might be boredom, anxiety, insecurity, frustration, resentment, self-doubt, and others. Often when we're procrastinating, we're really just putting off the feelings, the negative feelings that the tasks are asking from us. So we engage in tasks that take us away from feeling bad. Watching, waiting, hoping, the things we do in Advent, they can make us feel anxious. As we go through ups and downs in life, and we're faced with the question of what is all of this for, it can feel really difficult to do that. We don't want to do that, so instead, we procrastinate. We put it off. We maybe get a simple answer, don't dig too deep, right? We focus on the things that seem more present or the things that are more interesting. Leave the heavy thinking for later. In the gospel passage for today, though, Jesus tells us, keep awake, therefore. For you do not know on what day your Lord is coming, on what day this fulfillment is coming. At the question about the end times, the fulfillment of all things, the end of what we know and what might keep us going, Jesus is asking us to get ready. Just like a homeowner gets ready and prepares for an intruder, they don't know when they're coming. There's definitely no room for procrastination here. We gotta live ready, ready to love, ready to serve, ready to give grace to our neighbor, ready to be generous. We don't know when the end of things will come, when the fulfillment of all things will come, but we gotta live ready. Beloved of God, in Advent, we are entering a season of waiting to intentionally prepare ourselves to explore what might lead us to procrastinate being the children of God, following the way of love, in committing ourselves to embrace Jesus' way, even when we are not perfect, even when there are other things that we want to engage. We start the church year with a commitment to be ready, to embrace the message of the gospel for a world that is hurting. In the silence of this season, listen to the Spirit's inspiration. In the quiet of the season, listen for how God is speaking to you. In the silence, make a commitment to be ready. Amen.